Before we go into this thing, I just want to give an honor to God, who is the head of my life, to my chief apostle, the chief apostle, Dr. William Harrell. And besides a great man, there's a great woman, my first lady. God bless you. And if you remember this church, I advise you to go crazy. I want to give an honor to God, to the pastor of this house. Figueroa. God bless you, sir. We going into the word. We going into the word. We going into the word. I'm going to back it up to the 13th verse. Matthew, the 22nd chapter, verse 13.
All right.
And it says, Then said the king to the servants, Bind him hand and foot and take him away and cast him into the outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Verse 14 says, For many are called, but few are chosen. I would like to use for a subject, if I can, on tonight, will you die?
Will you die? All right.
Turn to your neighbor real fast and say, Neighbor, will you die?
Will you die? Come on.
Now, two invitations will be extended. One to announce the intention of giving the wedding, and the second to inform people it was time to come. Like a doctor's appointment, you go, you make an appointment, and then you receive something called a courtesy call to remind you to come to your appointment. But they refuse to come on both occasions. Would you refuse the invitation to the White House? Would you refuse the invitation to go somewhere big? I know some people, they like going places big, but you wouldn't gonna sit there and decline the invitation to go do something great.
No. Great.
When the king's people rejected the invitation, everyone was invited. Like those people, those invited to the prince's wedding, we are invited by God to come to a banquet. You and I are invited, but will you dine? If we accept the invitation, we will let daily routine crowd out God's invitation. The attitude towards church used to be, if you build it, they will come, but not the case anymore. Because this day and time in the church, we got tied up in competition that nobody wants to sit there and be humble anymore. I wish I had a witness. The second parable in verse 11 or 14, tie him hand and the foot, throw him outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Unreasonable thing to do. Research shows that the king not only prepared the feast, but he supplied a special garment for the guests. All they had to do was put it on. The kingdom of heaven that Jesus is describing, grace is freely given. All you have to do is put it on. Will you dine? My question on tonight is, will you dine? Will you show up at the White House with a bath towel on? Will you go to a formal wedding dressed in cutoffs and a tank top? Or would you just not show up at all? And I'm concluding on here, and I'm getting ready to go to my seat. But many are invited, but few are chosen. Who chooses? We do. We choose to respond to Christ's invitation or not. You got people in the body of Christ and people in the world that God has already called, but they don't want to go because they know how much it's going to take when they get there. I wish I had a church that realized this. Now that we choose to accept or reject the invitation to be a part of the kingdom, you want to. Now my question is on tonight, will you dine? Will you sit there and go and say, yes, I'm coming? Or will you sit there and not show up? Will you stop being ignorant and stop being hostile and sit there and say, I'm not going because my best friend's not going to be there. I'm not going because my husband's not going to be there. I'm not going, can I be real? I'm not going because my boo's not going to be there. I'm not going for all these certain things, but I'm going because that's... I said my question on tonight, and I'm getting ready to go to my seat. But my question on tonight is, will you dine? You see, there is a wedding going on, but he went out to get the people, but they refused him. Will you refuse God? Will you refuse him when he invites you to something? Because I count it an honor to be called. I count it an honor to be chosen by